This is a Louie Tee Network exclusive.
Me, your man, Louie Tee. Welcome. You are in the lab room, of course. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me here on the 2016 NFL Draft Prospects 101 series. Your guide to some of the biggest and hottest names. The 2016 NFL Draft, as these guys are looking to take the monumental leap in step from collegiate athlete to NFL star. I'll be your tour guide on this journey as we take this trip from the end of the NFL season to the start of the new league year into the NFL draft. Wall-to-wall coverage here in the lab room on the Louie Tee Network with your man, your host, doing the most to give you the best coverage of the 2016 NFL draft, Louie Tee. So, without any further ado, let's jump into the 2016 NFL Draft Prospects 101 series. And you know, we always start with the most prominent position, that of course being the quarterback position. And you know my mantra, you know my motto, and if you've been watching long enough, you know exactly what I'm about to say. But for those of you who don't know my mantra and my motto and haven't been here long enough, first and foremost, thank you for joining me. Welcome aboard. And second of all, if you don't have a quarterback, then you don't have a chance in the National Football League. Gotta have a signal caller. It's the most important position on the field. And because of that, every year, this is the most scrutinized position in all of football. And I think we have a nice crop of quarterbacks this season coming into the draft, and I think it's different flavors. Who kind of tickles your fancy? It's a big deal with the quarterback position. Everyone has their guy. Everybody has their pros and their cons about these guys, but it's beauty being in the eye of the beholder, essentially, with the quarterback position. Which one of these guys is your flavor? And so, to me, I'm going to start with the guy, and I think there's 5 quarterbacks that are going to come off the board reasonably high, probably in the first 2 rounds of this draft. And then to me, there's a stark drop off after that 5th quarterback. And I think we're going to tackle all 5 of those guys here on the Draft Prospects 101 series. And we really don't know the actual order. I think there's 3 guys that we can pretty much say definitively, unless something crazy out of the ordinary happens, we think 3 guys for sure coming off the board in the first round. Now, what order those guys come off the board in, again, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. We don't know how these teams feel individually about these quarterbacks, but we feel really good about making the assertion that 3 of these guys will come off the board, maybe a 4th, depending on how this process all goes. You know, these situations are always fluid when we're talking about the draft. You got pro days, you got the combine, so many things can transpire between now and then, so we don't know what's going to happen, but one thing's for sure, 5 of these guys to me have separated themselves from the rest of the quarterback class, and I think they're going to come off the board in the first 2 rounds. So I'm going to start with the guy that I think is going to come off the board first. He did a lot to help himself during the Senior Bowl. Of course, you know who I'm talking about, North Dakota State quarterback Carson Wentz. Here's a guy that I was exposed to last season, and I talked about him. And North Dakota State is becoming a little bit of a factory, a Division II football factory. They win championships. They produce NFL talent. Last year, Kyle Emmanuel was drafted in the 3rd round by the San Diego Chargers. A year before that, Billy Turner went to the Dolphins. This is a program that has produced NFL talent, and they continue to do so. And so you're starting to really get a sense that this is something that they're coming accustomed to. They know how this process works. And I think Carson Wentz was a guy that I ran into last year watching film. And I talked about actually watching one of the best college football games I've watched in a very long time, maybe since that Rose Bowl with Vince Young and, you know, the Texas Longhorns taking on USC Trojans with the Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart crew. that was a really good football game. Illinois State taking on North Dakota State for the Division II chip in 14. Look, if you're looking for a great 5 to 7 minute finish of a football game, go tune in and do yourself a favor. You will be very, very thankful that you did. It's a really good watch. But I ran into him throughout the process last year. Thoroughly impressed with Carson Wentz, and as I watch more tape on him this year, I feel the exact same way. Let's jump into his pros and talk about why this guy could potentially be the first quarterback off the board in 2016. Ideal size, you start with quarterbacks, and the first thing you look at is all the things that you can measure, the measurables, size, arm talent, all the things that you can look at and you can see. And one of those tangible assets for him is his size, 6'5", 233, big kid. He's got a nice solid build to him. He's an extremely gifted athlete. That's the next pro. You look at him and you see it. And let me first say this. This is a Division I talent, okay? Don't fool yourself. Here's a guy, much like Ben Roethlisberger, who switched positions in high school, was a receiver, moved over to quarterback, had an injury in college, or high school, that had him sit out. And so he was under-recruited coming out of high school, ended up going to a hometown product. He's from North Dakota, ended up going to North Dakota State, so probably wasn't the worst consolation prize for him not being recruited. Gets an opportunity, and this guy is extremely talented. I mean, when you talk about athletes, I'm really anxious to see how he times out at the combine, because when you watch him on tape, this guy can pick him up, put him down, and unlike these straight line athletes we see all the time, the Colin Kaepernicks, the Robert Griffin IIIs of the world, even the Marcus Mariota, go ahead and throw him in there. These guys don't have any wiggle. They can't really make you miss. You put them in a straight line and ask them to run. Good luck trying to catch them. But with those guys, in order to get them out in the open field, they need blocking, they need space. This guy can create his own space. He's a very athletic quarterback and can make guys miss out in space, so he's got a little bit of wiggle to him. And so that, to me, is something that sets him apart from the rest of these quarterbacks in this draft, especially the top 5. Is his athleticism is off the charts, and I can't wait to see how he tests out in terms of times at the combine. He's a tough quarterback, and he's dealt with some injuries. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But he's a guy that is tough and he's physical. He ran the football a lot at North Dakota State. They asked him to run the football. He obliged, took some shots. That's not something you want your quarterback doing at the next level. But just to know that he's a tough guy, he's not fragile, he's not going to break. And again, that 6'5", 233-pound frame does help and lend itself to telling you that he's a tough guy, can take on a little bit of punishment and keep on ticking. So he's a tough, competitive football player, very poised, and that's the next pro here. Look, this is a guy that won, and we'll talk about him being a winner, but he's a very poised quarterback. I talked about at the top of this breakdown that game against Illinois State in 2014 for the Division II chip. They were in a game where there was a lot of adversity, especially late. They take the lead late in the ball game, only to have Illinois State come right back down the field, take the lead right back, a gut punch with about 1 minute and 15 seconds left in that football game. Cool, calm, and collected, Carson Wentz takes the North Dakota State Bisons right down the field, gets them in the end zone, and gets them to their 4th consecutive Division II chip. The guy is very poised, cool, calm, and collected, ice water in his veins, and those are the kind of guys you want with the football in their hands late in ball games, because you feel like they're gonna get it done if you give them an opportunity to win the football game. Very poised, and not just in late game situations. There's a lot of trash around him. He's very poised in the pocket. He's a guy that is just poised with the football. In general, you want guys like that to run your football team. He's a winner, and I alluded to that talking about the chip in 14. This guy is a winner. 2 years of starting at North Dakota State, 20-3 overall, 5-time champion in Division II. He doesn't know what it's like to lose at the collegiate level, has never lost in an entire season, has won the chip each and every single year, including his redshirt freshman year when he sat behind Brock Jensen, and he sat behind Jensen for the first 3 years of his collegiate career, started the last 2, his redshirt junior and senior year, winning both of the chips in those 2 seasons, 5 consecutive championships, a Division II record. This guy is the epitome of a winner. And that's all he knows how to do. And for a franchise like the Browns, who have known nothing but losing of late, you could use a guy with the temperament, the poise, the moxie, and the mindset of a Carson Wentz who knows nothing but winning, coming from a program that all they do is win, 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 no matter what. Carson Wentz is absolutely, no doubt about it, unquestionably, unequivocally a winner. He can throw from multiple arm slots and he manipulates the pocket. So what that equals up to and amounts to is a guy that doesn't get the football batted down a lot. When you're 6'5", you want to see guys throwing from over the top, but sometimes you got to change the arm slot because the guy's got his hands up right in the passing lane, and he's able to do that. The Bisons ran a bunch of middle screens, and to me, I don't know if there's a prettier middle screen ran in college football. And I'm not talking about just D2. I'm talking about all of college football, D1 included. I don't know if there's a prettier, more well-executed middle screen ran by any team than North Dakota State. They run a magnificent middle screen, and he executes it so beautifully because he sells the fake, and then when the defenders get up the field, he's able to change arm slots, go 3/4, sidearms it in there, and gives the running back a chance to get up the field. And they scored a lot of touchdowns and created a lot of big chunk plays out of that particular play. And the reason it was successful is because Carson Wentz was able to change his arm slots here, to get the football around defenders, to give his running back a chance to make a play with the football. When he has the ball in the pocket, guys are around him, he's able to step up, manipulate the pocket. There are times where he'll actually step up and then shift to the side and find an outlet to get rid of the football. There's times where he'll step up, make that side shift, and then get up the field and run with the football. He finds ways to manipulate the pocket. That's something that you've got to be impressed with when you watch the tape of Carson Wentz. Throws with anticipation. One of these guys, he'll take a few snaps from under center, 3-step drop, back foot hits the ground, ball comes out. A lot of quick throws as well in this offense. He was sharp, he was accurate with the football, a guy that you will see that is consistently up there, over 60% completion percentage, very accurate with the football. A lot of sideline throws where he's able to put it right on the money. Guys able to get his feet down, inbounds, and complete the football catch because it was a perfectly thrown ball. He's a guy that throws with anticipation very well, very accurate, has great touch on the football, something that I think can be a lost art at times with quarterbacks these days, not throwing with touch underneath and touch deep. We know that touch is something that you gotta have to throw a beautiful deep ball, which he does have a solid touch on the football, but underneath is where I think touch is underrated. You want to zip it in there, but you also want to throw a catchable football. He throws with touch, especially to those flare routes to the outside and guys drifting away from a defender. You don't want to put it on a rope. You want to put it with a little bit of air under it so that it gives the receiver a chance to run under it, not lose stride, and run away from the defender. He does that underneath very well, maybe as good as anyone in the top 5 of this draft at the quarterback position. He's an STP'er, and if you've been watching my breakdowns, you know what an STP'er is, but since it's been a year, I'll remind you of what an STP'er is. Sorts through progressions player. So he's a sort through the progression type of quarterback. Despite doing a lot of his damage out of the spread offense, he's a guy, and this was something that we talked about with Marcus Mariota, we talked about with Robert Griffin III, these quarterbacks that play primarily in a spread offense, really hard to decipher if they're making reads or is everything coming easily to them because of the spread and all of the motions and all of those things that are going on behind the scenes that are distracting to a defense, opening up big gaping lanes for the quarterback to throw the football. So it's a one read, offense. He's a guy that you can see his head moving. He's going here, he's going here, he's going here. He doesn't like what he sees, he checks it down to the back. He's going here, he's going here. Third read open, boom, he's hitting him with the football. You can see him sorting through his progressions. Being an STP'er, you can see him sorting through the progressions and getting the football to the right man on any given snap. Those are his pros. Let's go to some of his cons, some of the things he's going to have to work on at the next level. Take some unnecessary sacks and hits. Again, I talked about how tough this guy is, and we'll talk a little bit more about what the accumulation of these hits will do to you. You don't want your quarterback taking unnecessary hits. he took a lot of hits just running the football. And in college football, you'll find that quarterbacks who play in a spread offense are going to be asked to run the football at certain points, and you're going to have to take some shots. He was one of those guys, took a lot of hits. You don't want to see him doing that. And so that's something that he's going to have to kind of erase out of his game. You don't want him taking on linebackers and safeties and big defensive linemen. It's not something you want out of your quarterback at the NFL level. Took some sacks in the pocket where I thought he could have gotten rid of the football, could have got outside. For as athletic a guy he is, sometimes you want him to just go, and he's still trying to make a play, just go, buddy. You're so athletic. Go make a play. Use your legs and go pick up 7 yards on a play. Opposed to throwing an incomplete pass and having it be 2nd and 10. Go and pick up 3 yards on 1st and 10 and run and pick up 3 yards instead of you throwing an incomplete pass or taking a 4-yard sack. There are times when I'm just like, hey dude, make a decision, make a play. You've got the wheels to do so. Get out of the pocket. He'll be outside the pocket, back shuffling. Instead of him saying, okay, there's nothing here. Let me just get rid of the football, abort this play, and get something and make something out of nothing. A wise man once told me, you can't go broke making a profit. If you get 3 on 1st down, you'll take it versus getting nothing or taking a 4-yard sack on 1st down. So that's something I'd like to see him get better at. Avoid the hits, avoid the sacks, get rid of the football. He's an athlete that I think is special enough to be able to do that. I'd like to see him be better at aborting bad plays and getting his team into better down and distance situations. A bit of an injury history. Here's a guy that was banged up. I talked about him being banged up in high school, having a major injury derail him there. You get to the collegiate level, and last season, as they were trying to embark upon their journey of their 5th consecutive Division II chip, he goes down with an injury. And really the first game of the season versus Montana, he injures his ankle on a play where he takes a hit where you don't know if he needed to take that necessary hit, but he did. He injures his ankle. And a lot of people thought maybe he could be injured for a while. He was able to play through that injury. Injures his wrist in the middle of the season in November and misses 8 games due to that injury. Was able to come back in time for the championship game, a blowout victory where they were able to attain their 5th consecutive championship in Division II football. But missed 8 games with a wrist injury. Seems to be all well now, but again, gotta always take that stuff with a grain of salt. Wanna always know what the injury history of a player is when you're taking them, especially when you're talking about quarterback. You're investing a lot into these guys. You want to know what you're getting. So he's got a little bit of an injury history, something you might want to monitor if you're a team looking to draft a quarterback. He'll stare down receivers. That's another con here. He's another one of these guys that, because he's in this spread offense, and you can get attached to a guy, you can kind of predetermine where you want to go with the football. Hey, we ran this in practice against this look. It should be here, and it's not. And sometimes he's already made his mind up and he's staring down guys. You watched that UNI game when they lost to Northern Iowa, and he threw about 2 interceptions in that game. And there was one particular play, he probably should have thrown a 3rd in that football game, where the safety is able to watch his eyes, and Carson Wentz takes him exactly to where the football is going to be delivered. He steps right in front of the play. Safety picks him off, gets him deep into Bison's territory. They end up getting some points out of that possession. And there are times where he'll take you straight to where the football is going to be delivered because he will stare down his receiver. It's not something that can't be fixed. Again, a lot of times with college quarterbacks, you will see that because they can get away with those things in college. But sometimes you pay the price for staring down receivers. You pay even more so at the next level because the oppositions are much smarter at the NFL level, and even more so, much more athletic. Those windows close faster, and if you're staring down a guy, they will read your eyes and they will make you pay at the NFL level. So he definitely needs to clean that up. He can be lackadaisical with the football. That's something that really irked me watching Carson Wentz. There were times where he would have the football and it would get poked away, and he'd be running and he knows contact is imminent. Put the football away. You know, he'd be a little loose with it, even though he's got the pressure points. He's not holding it tight enough against his body, and it's out here, and it's getting poked away in a pile. You've got situations where he's in the pocket, and he loses the football a little too easily for me. Put the football away. You're taking contact. You have to hold on to the football. If you're going to take a sack, You have to protect the football at all costs. And he was a guy to me that allowed the football to hit the carpet way too often for me. He needs to be a lot more careful with the football. That is a precious jewel that you are toting around, and you must protect it with all that you have. And I don't think he does that enough for me. That's something else that I think coaches are going to want to talk to him about, is him protecting the football and not fumbling as often as he did at North Dakota State. But that's Carson Wentz in a nutshell, a guy that I think is very high on a lot of people's boards that are looking for a quarterback. And I think his play at the Senior Bowl really confirmed it. That they saw the football come out of his hands live. They really liked the way he handled himself in the interview process. I was blown away by the way that he was talking and the things that he said. He's a guy that you understand. He gets it. He understands what he needs to say. And I think his play on the field backs up a lot of what he said at the Senior Bowl. And I'm convinced that this guy could be a really good passer at the next level. I think he's an athlete that can do some things at the quarterback position. And if he's taken by the right team, in the right system, he's going to need a little bit of time, like I think most of these quarterbacks will in this draft. But if he's given the right opportunity in the right system, with the right coach, with the right organization, with the right weapons around him, I think this is a guy that could really help an organization flourish over the next 5 seasons or more. That's Carson Wentz in his NFL Draft Prospects 101 breakdown. We're talking quarterbacks. I'll be back with more of the 2016 NFL Draft Class quarterbacks. See you next time. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover all here in the lab room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. I'll see you next time where we're talking about more quarterbacks in the 2016 NFL Draft.
There's plenty more where that came from. While you're here, subscribe to the channel. If you want more Louie Tee, be sure to follow me on Twitter at In The Lab Room, or you can like the Facebook page at In The Lab Room. That's In The Lab Room on Facebook and at In The Lab Room on Twitter. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so.